Welcome to episode 9 of What's Up with Francis Drelling. Today we're going to talk about an employee's Bill of Rights, and we're taking this show on the road again. And here's where we're going to go. If you can read that, that's only one of the links though, so it's not really everywhere we're going. So come along with me and find out where we're really going, because I think you're going to like this one. It's going to be kind of neat. Gate 43, that's us. For our first stop in the Employee Bill of Rights, I thought we'd stop at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. Now, why is that? President Lincoln, our 16th president of these United States, was all about fairness. That was very important to him. And in this regard, let me read you a short quote, which is attributable to him. These men ask for just the same thing, fairness and fairness only. This, as far as in my power, they and all others shall have. And that's why we stopped at the Lincoln Memorial on our First Amendment, to visit our 16th president, Abraham Lincoln. So here we are at the Korean War Memorial. And when we're here, we're thinking about June 25, 1950, when the North Koreans crossed the 38th parallel with their tanks and invaded South Korea. As everyone knows, the United States responded by leading an international force to set that straight and to stop it. And ultimately, after 3 years of fighting, brought it back to the 38th parallel. So what was that all about? That was about standards. That was about holding everyone to equal standards. You can't just go do something like that. And that's what our Second Amendment is all about. That everyone must meet the same standards. Everyone must adhere to the same rules. No political preferences, no favoritism. So I thought it'd be respectful if we visited the Korean War Memorial when we talked about our Second Amendment in the Employee Bill of Rights. So right now we're standing outside the National Archives Museum. This building is very important to the United States. Inside of it is housed our Constitution, our Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights. Now I was going to take photographs of these documents, but they don't allow any photography inside this building, but I did get right up next to them. But you know what's really interesting is although they would not allow photography, these crazy Americans, they did something far worse. I'm going to tell you what it is in a little bit, but first I want to talk about our Third Amendment. Our Third Amendment is that the employer must follow all the rules, policies, and procedures, yes, even those that expects the employees to follow. Fair is fair, and that's our Third Amendment. Follow the rules. Now, I do think the National Archive building is as good a place as any to talk about our Fourth Amendment. So what is it? It's that employees should be considered for internal promotions. They should be allowed to be considered for internal promotions based upon at least two factors. Their merit, which is their skill-based, and their loyalty to the company. Those things should be taken into consideration because employees certainly show those things for their employers. And that's our Fourth Amendment here at the National Archives building. Now, I don't want to close this episode until I tell you what those crazy Americans did. What they did, and I know you're not going to believe this, but inside that building, while I couldn't photograph the Bill of Rights, they actually sold it to me for just a few dollars. I mean, it's unbelievable. I have it. Oh, you want to see it? Fine. I'll show it to you. We're going to have to do that at an undisclosed location. But right now, I want you to look behind me. That is a former Air Force One. It was flown in by John F. Kennedy and Lyndon Johnson. That's right. And this is a clue to our next episode where we're going to be, at least for part of that episode. So take a good look at that airplane. If you know where that is, you know where we're heading. Okay, here we are. I hid it here just so we can keep it safe. So here we go. We've got it right here, the Bill of Rights. Now you see that? Pull this stuff out, you have the Bill of Rights, and look where we are. A beautiful place. And what does that tell you about the Bill of Rights? It tells you it's a beautiful thing. Don't ever let them take it away from you, and don't ever give it up. But now let's talk about the Bill of Rights, because you probably aren't sure it really is a Bill of Rights. So let's open it up, and I'll show you I'm not kidding you on this one. All right, this is it. So let's open it up, and prove what we got here to you. Okay, follow me down. Good, down here. So, tell me this is not Tell me this is not the Bill of Rights. Now, as you notice, sorry about that, folks, technical glitch. As you notice, there are 12 articles in the Bill of Rights. 12. Now, why are there 12? I'm asking you, and you're asking me. If there's really 10 amendments to the Bill of Rights, what's that all about? Well, the secret is that originally there were 17 articles that the Congress wanted to pass. And the Senate said, no, we're only going to go with 12. So old Mr. Madison had to accept 12 coming out of the U.S. Congress. They took those 12 and they put those to the people. But the people, we the people as we say, decided we only wanted 10 of the 12. So the question I'm going to ask you today is which 10 made it? No, not which 10 made it, which 2 did not make it? Who can tell me in the comment section which 2 did not make it into the Bill of Rights? Alrighty then, I'm looking forward to seeing your comments and you let me know. Thumbs up. Here we are at the United States Supreme Court with our next amendment for the Employees' Bill of Rights. And that, I think, should be that employees are entitled to a safe work environment with the proper precautions in place and the necessary tools of the trade to do their job properly and safely. Since the United States Supreme Court helps to make that happen, I thought this would be a great place to talk about that amendment. So there you have it. Francis Drelling live from the United States Supreme Court. The Sixth Amendment finds us taking a quick hop out here to the Richard Nixon Library in Yorba Linda, California. So what is our Sixth Amendment? Our Sixth Amendment is that the buck stops here. And by here I don't mean the employee. No, I mean the boss. That's where the buck stops, is with the boss. So who was the first to use this buck stops here motto? President Truman, many people quote. But no, it wasn't him. The Reno Evening Gazette first published a picture years before President Truman ever used it. And in that picture, you saw Colonel A.B. Warfield sitting at a desk. And at that desk, he had that placard, the buck stops here. So we know President Truman got it from someone else, and you can read articles about where that came from. But in any case, that is the Sixth Amendment. And before I forget, I want to add, Richard Milhouse Nixon was the only president to ever resign. So talk about the buck stopping somewhere. It did stop with him. Our Seventh Amendment is that all employees are entitled to have a boss who strives to create a wonderful, positive work environment. A boss who wants their employees to achieve, to move forward, to do great things, who judges himself or herself by how successful his or her employees are in the workplace and beyond. A boss who expects the same of their employees as well. And that's our Seventh Amendment. Our Eighth Amendment is fairly simple. Employees are entitled to be free from unnecessary micromanagement by their supervisors. Now you might be asking, well, why are you showing the American flag on this one? Great question. That flag stands for many phenomenal values, some of which are freedom and liberty. And I say if you give your employees some freedom, some liberty, some discretion, they'll do a great job for you. So that's our Eighth Amendment. No micromanagement. Our search for the Ninth Amendment takes us to the Richard Nixon Library in Yorba Linda, California. Now, before I talk about the Ninth Amendment, I want to talk about the summer of 1974. In that summer, a Senate investigation determined that the President, Richard Milhouse Nixon, our 37th President of these United States, may have been involved in the cover-up of a politically motivated burglary and wiretapping that took place at the Watergate apartment complex in Washington, D.C. As a result, it voted 3 articles of impeachment against the President. These articles were founded upon the concept that the President had abused his power and violated the constitutional rights of American citizens. The President responded to these articles on August 8, 1974 by announcing that the following day he would resign as the President of the United States. He did just that on August 9, 1974, and then flew out of town on Marine One, this very helicopter behind us. So what does this have to do with our Ninth Amendment? Well, I believe that for our Ninth Amendment, we should have something like this. Employees are entitled to have their employer enforce their rights. Now, this Employee Bill of Rights is to help employees, and employers should enforce it. So if employees violate it, then employers should take action against them, and I believe employees are entitled to have that happen, just as the Judiciary Committee voted 3 articles of impeachment. And that, my friends, I believe, should be our 9th Amendment. I'd like to set up this next scene just a little bit because the back sketch is kind of funny. When I was at the Supreme Court, I decided to film the 10th Amendment for my episode 9, but I didn't have much time because they were closing. So what you're going to see here is that I had to rush through it. There was a guard in the background and he's screaming something. What you don't know is he's screaming at me to leave the building. I don't know what his words are, but I know what his intent is. So the only way I can get him to stop is if I'm actually walking out. So I do that. And he stops. And then when I get to the exit door, he actually yanks the door open, makes some sort of motion and says something. But it's all the back sketch on this episode, and I thought you might enjoy seeing it. It's kind of funny. The guy's just doing his job, but it was kind of funny. So here you go. So as long as we're at the Supreme Court, I thought that we would talk about the 10th Amendment. And the 10th Amendment should be that employees are entitled to have a boss who will laugh at their jokes and laugh with them, at least once in a while. And why do they do this at the Supreme Court? Because things get so busy here that who has time to laugh? So I thought it's appropriate to do this one here. Thanks a lot.
Come on, Bill,
Thank you. I know, I'm on my way out right now. Guys are efficient. And there it is. That's how you get kicked out of the United States Supreme Court. Come a little bit too late and they hustle you out. So that's their job. And over there is the Capitol Dome.